Fellas, we are back. How are you, by the way? But we are here with Transformers issue 17, and fellas, we are so back. So this picks up with Thundercracker arriving at the Ark saying he's coming as he goes to walk in, calling his brother Skywarp, asking if he's here. And with the next page, we see Thundercracker finding Skywarp in total shock and Skywarp being confused, but ultimately happy to see his brother Thundercracker. And we see Thundercracker start to rip off the wires to Skywarp, as to any of you forgetting, it was Soundwave and Starscream who hooked up Skywarp to Teletran 1 and not the Autobots. But we see Skywarp tell Thundercracker not to pull him out, as it will ultimately lead to death, which Thundercracker, with full determination to set Skywarp free, he says he will find another way to free him from this awful prison. And I want to ask you guys this question: is it possible for Thundercracker to release Skywarp back to the way he was? Because honestly, I don't think it's possible, but I would love to know you guys' thoughts. But we switched the POV to Carly and Spike, as if you guys remember, they are currently with Beachcomber and RC and are on the search for our city commander. But we see Spike asking Beachcomber if this is the right way they are going, which we see Beachcomber say yes, as they found his tracks going into the water and the energon readings are getting stronger and stronger, which we see this interesting conversation take place between Beachcomber and RC, with RC thanking Beachcomber for coming along and helping her find Ultra Magnus. But Beachcomber admits he's doing this because it's a better trade to him than fighting the Decepticons, which leads to RC asking him what changed him to not want to fight anymore. And Beachcomber simply responds with the day when the Decepticons purged the Ark and attacked the Autobots, which we did see the poor guy get thrown out of. And we do see another flashback here of him talking about more, saying it was total chaos, but through the broken hole he could see stars, galaxies, and life, which led him to have this revelation that the Autobot and Decepticon conflict seems small and meaningless in the grand scheme of things. And by the way, Bumblebee looks hilarious in this little panel here. I'm glad he made a cameo. But Beachcomber goes on to say that he couldn't take part anymore, which then we cut back to the present of him and RC talking, and Beachcomber says fighting only happens when we choose to, which RC responds to, what if there is no choice to fight? What if it's fight or die? But before this gets answered, Carly screams to look out as a huge explosion hits them, sending Carly and Spike into deep water. And we see RC save Spike and Carly, and we see the person that shot them was in fact Ultra Magnus. And we see Ultra Magnus apologizing to RC and Beachcomber as he couldn't see them, and that he lost himself building his fortress, and that he was only trying to keep himself safe. And yeah, we see Ultra Magnus with this really weird makeshift wooden fortress made of wood and trees, and yeah, this dude Shockwave done messed up our city commander pretty bad, man. But we shift to Cybertron with Cliff and Alita's group on Cybertron, and we see Cliff asking if this is going to be too heavy, which we see it's Blades he's talking to. And yes, some more Protectobot love. I love Defensor. And he says, please, I once airlifted Motormaster, and that he'll be ready to drop it once the signal is given, which we see Alita 1 loading her gun and saying to Cliff that his eyes hold a hope she lost a long time ago, and a luxury she has never experienced. And to her, she had one foot in front of the other, one more Decepticon head to sludge, and goes on to say, lose a base, gain a friend, lose a friend. Which Cliffjumper says that's why Optimus had to leave, he had lost all hope. And Alita 1 responds to Cliffjumper with anger, asking so what, he leaves and that's the solution? Which Cliff responds saying his plan was to always come back and save Cybertron. And Alita 1 replies saying he had his chance and now the Autobots and Cybertron are on their own. And yeah, the theory that people had that Alita 1 just outright hates Optimus Prime is just looking more and more true. But we see Bluestreak come in, telling Alita to pull herself together and tells her to look around, as in Bluestreak's eyes, once Optimus came back, for 5 minutes, he has already cut off the head of the Decepticon leadership. With Shockwave gone, they might actually have a chance, and tells Alita that you talk like no one else has lost someone, but the fact of the matter is they all have lost someone and continue to lose more every day. And now they've got a chance at reinforcements. So this is just really cool because we see Bluestreak rallying the squad saying basically, yeah, it's been bad, but with Optimus being back, he's already cut down Shockwave, so the Autobots actually have a fighting chance. And he rallies the troops here of Warpath, Blur, Blades, and Alita to get ready for their mission. And this is just very cool to see someone like Bluestreak to rally the group. But we shift to Team Prime as they are seeing the damage caused by the two combiners, and of course from Optimus as he blew up the dam like we saw in last issue. But we see Wheeljack tell Optimus that Bruticus is moving north towards a large human population, more specifically Seattle. And we see Wheeljack ask Optimus what happened back at the dam, which Optimus says he doesn't really know and that something just came over him. And Wheeljack says if you are in the dark of what's happening, then we should go back to the Ark and make sure you don't lose control. But Optimus, being Optimus, says not when the stakes are so high, and that they should go and help when the humans' lives are at stake. So yeah, it seems like we still aren't getting a clear answer on what's happening to Optimus. I still believe it's a mix of the arm and of course the Matrix, but we switch to the Cybertron group again as we see Thrust, which is actually cool to see another Conehead, and we also see Ratbat, and we see Thrust is complaining about being on guard duty and says that at least venturing out would bring feeling and danger. And yeah, well, here's your danger, Thrust, as Blur literally goes in at super speed and drops a bomb on Thrust's head, and explosions after explosions just happen as we see Alita's group tearing it up, saying they've only got one chance, which we see Blue Streak leading the charge and tells Alita that it's her turn. As we see in the next page, we see Cliff and Alita 1 racing to the well of sparks, and somehow Thrust survived. I don't know how he survived that explosion. I mean, the bomb's literally on the dude's head. Anyways, it's whatever. But we see Thrust and Ratbat enter the fray, chasing Cliff and Alita, and we see Alita tell Cliffjumper to head to the hall and that she will be right behind him. And we see Ratbat calling out to the Autobots and asking to show themselves, and Alita 1 just tackles both Thrust and Ratbat, saying gladly, and bang! I feel like I haven't said bang in a while, so she makes quick work of those two and joins up with Cliffjumper, asking him if he knows how the well of all sparks work, which he doesn't, and I don't, and you don't. So we see them enter the room, and the room essentially starts to transform in front of them, and we have this beautiful page here of the well of sparks glowing and turning on, which then we see Cliff loading the spark canister into the computer. And this whole like well and screen here is very Teletran 1 like. That's why I said computer, because it's like a computer screen, but it says begin creation event, which Cliff says here goes everything, and presses the button and loads the canister. And we skip to the next page of Starscream's brigade. Yeah, the POV switches a lot this issue, but I like it. I like the pace. And we see Starscream and Astrotrain and Bruticus just causing mayhem on Seattle, destroying buildings, and we see Soundwave and his team arrive, and we see Starscream ask Soundwave if he really thinks that he has what it takes to defeat him, which Soundwave responds saying actually yes, he does believe he has what it takes. And Starscream tells him to get real and that his team of runaways will always, but before he can finish that sentence, we see Astrotrain and Starscream and Bruticus just get the most fattest uppercut from Devastator, and we see Team Prime arrive on the scene, and we see Trailbreaker asking the Decepticons have no mercy, which Optimus says the most badass thing ever, and says, my Autobots, there's only one thing to do, prepare yourselves, as he loads his ion blaster and they charge in, and Optimus says save as many humans as you can, and we just see this amazing 3 panels of the Goat Jazz saving humans, and Trailbreaker using his force field, and Prime lifting Bruticus's leg to save the humans, which is just, oh, it's so good. This is so good. And we see Prime tell this mom and kid to quickly get in so he can save them, and that's exactly what they do. And this kid asks, who the heck is he? And our favorite commander simply says, the name is Optimus Prime, and we are here to rescue you. And this is just, it's just so freaking good, as we see the Autobots be, well, Autobots, and it's just so cool. We just have this amazing part here of just them saving humans and saving as many as they can, as they are literally running away from the Combiner chaos. It's so well done. But we shift to Alita's group, and I think you guys are really going to like this, as the birth creation is starting, and Alita tells Cliff that the machine is asking for a secondary form to model, which Cliff says way ahead of you, and tells Blades to drop what he was asking Blades earlier if it was too heavy. And what that was Carly's van. And remember, her van went into the space bridge portal when Cliff was thrown into it back in issue 12. So that's cool that this is being done and the van is being reused here. And the machine reads, scanning complete, as in the next page, the well of sparks lights up violently, and we hear a voice saying they recognize Cliff, and corrects himself saying, I recognize you from ages past. And Cliff says, my new friend, tell me, what do the combined sparks of my clan call themselves? And asks this bot, what is your name? Which we see in the last page, they say their name is Shredhead. And bang, we see Shredhead holding a golden sword, and this is just so freaking good, dude. This is just, this is so good, as this is Skybound's first original character for the Autobots, and that's how this issue ends, fellas. And what another great issue setting up for the finale. And not surprising for me, might be surprising for some that there was no cameo here from Megatron, but that makes sense considering that he will most likely make a small appearance next issue. And even then, that's kind of low considering that the next volume is going to be about like you know, kind of like what this volume was with Starscream and having a little bit of an origin story. So it's not shocking that we see no Megatron here, but fellas, the stakes seem to be at an all-time high here in this issue and the next. As for the Autobots, or Team Prime, will need to somehow save more humans from the Combiner Chaos, while also figuring out how to stop Soundwave and Starscream, and Team Spike and Carly will have to somehow convince Ultra Magnus to come back and fight. And I'm really curious to know what Magnus meant that he can't see anymore, as did he mean that in a literal sense or a figurative sense? But I'm also intrigued to know how Shredhead will help and impact the Autobots on Cybertron and how much of an impact he will have, because man, this guy looks ready to, well, shred. Okay, don't boo me. I'm sorry, but come on. But with that being said, I would love to know you guys' thoughts on this issue, and we are officially one issue away from the finale of Volume 3, and after the finale, we'll have 6 issues left before we see the amazing writer for the series, Daniel Warren Johnson, leave Transformers. But I would love to know you guys' thoughts on this issue. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.